Hi there, my name is Tom, and I'm going to be demoing the Quilter Overdrive 202 for you today. I've had the amp for about a year or so. I used to play the Peavey 6505-5150 series for about 15 years before I got this. Now, the amp has some pros and some cons, but I feel like I've been able to get the amp at least close enough to the Peavey that it works for me live, and it has replaced the Peavey for me live. So I just wanted to give some tips and a demo for some of you people out there to play some more modern styles of metal. Personally, I play in a sludge metal band. So if you play in a sludge metal band and use more mid-heavy amps such as the Peavey, this might be good for you to decide if this amp, the Quilter, is right for you. So a couple specs here. I'm using a Harley Benton 2x12 with vintage 30s in it. It's actually one of the best deals online if you're looking for a cabinet to replace a 4x12. I'm running a tube screamer in front of the Quilter because I prefer that tone, and I'll elaborate later on in the video that I feel like that you need some sort of boost if you're looking to saturate the signal, because the gain on this amp tends to be pretty gritty. It isn't very smooth. It's like an old JCM 800 Marshall or a grittier sense of overdrive. It's not going to saturate or like a sponge, such as like a Mesa Boogie or even the Peavey 6505. It's not a super smooth overdrive. So you definitely want to put a boost in front of it. I have a tube screamer in front of mine. I don't have the gain dimed on anything, but I feel like it's well balanced. Long story short, the amp has a limiter which you want to use sparingly because it cuts into the overdrive for the metallic tone. If you're looking for a more blues-based tone or just a simple overdrive, it's good to have the limiter up. But if you're playing heavier styles of music, you want that limiter at 9 o'clock or even below. So that's a basic rundown of my settings. I'm playing an Epiphone Les Paul Standard. It's a plain top with passive stock pickups in it, and well, let's get to the riffs. Okay, so I'm going to go into a little bit more depth as far as my settings are concerned on the Quilter. First of all, my gain is at about 3 o'clock. My limiter is right below 9 o'clock. I'm using voice number 2. And for me personally, I like a more mid-driven overdrive tone. So voice number 2 works for me. If you're using more of a scoop mid-tones, or if you want more gain, voice number 3 would be the best for you. Overall, the distortion is very gritty. It can get saturated, but it's overall a very gritty tone. Very comparable to a 80s JCM 800 by Marshall. Any of those grittier amps from the 70s and 80s. It's more based on that. The saturation really isn't there with the amp. So if you're used to more of a Mesa Boogie, smooth, saturated overdrive, a spongy type of overdrive, or even the Peavey 6505, you're going to want to put a boost in front of this, like a tube screamer, to smooth out the overdrive a bit. Couple things about the amp that I don't like. I don't like the treble response for the most part. I think the treble response is very shrill. It's harsh. It sounds artificial to me. I keep my treble at its highest at 5, and preferably usually below, depending on the room I play in. My mids tend to be at 7, but again, I like a mid saturated tone. If you don't like a mid-saturated tone, you can turn it down and you'll get the tones you want, especially on voice number 3. On the bass response is about 6, a little above 5, 5.5, 6 or so. And let me grab the amp here real quick so I can show you exactly what's going on. So right here are my settings, and you can see them right there in the camera. It's probably not crystal clear, but I'll try to tilt the amp a little bit so you can see better what's going on. It's a very portable option. If you gig a lot, it's really convenient. And it replaced my Peavey, but at the same time, I'm not going to dilute any of you. Your tube amps will marginally sound better. And it's not something in a studio where you're going to go in and it's going to blow you away. It's 98% of the way there, and it has its own character. So it's great if you want to play live and you're okay with putting a tube screamer in front of it. I think that you can get heavy tones out of it, but again, you're not going to get that super saturated overdrive from a Mesa, Soldano, or Peavey. So if you're used to any of those 3 amps, I would definitely try one of these amps out first with a tube screamer to see if it's right for you, because it may not be right for you due to the gain structure being very gritty. If you have any questions or concerns, just shoot me a DM or leave a comment here on YouTube, and thanks for checking it out. Have a good one.